Hi there. I think we'll get started now. And this is the third series now of the how-to webinars that we're kicking off with. And this session today is all about how to approach your first 90 days with Futrli. So it should be a quite a good one. I can see some familiar faces online. So see, hi John, Martin, and others as well. So for those that know me, I'm Sam. I head up the account management team here at Futrli. I've been here for 2.5 years or so now. Yeah, I've been really enjoying doing these webinars recently. And like I said, this is I suppose a new series that we're running based off feedback. And obviously, I'll see some familiar faces, ones that have been here for a lot longer than 90 days. But this should hopefully give you some extra tips as well about how you can also engage other strategies. So how we can go from setting up a client to maybe positioning services to new clients. I see some more people are trickling through as I'm going to introduce them, which is really, really good. I will send out the recording of today's session as well. So if you do miss anything, then you'll get that as well. So fear not. And feel free to use the Q&A function of Zoom as well to ask any questions. I'll probably come to the questions at the end of the session. We've got the full hour booked. We probably won't need the full hour. As normal, these tend to be around 30 to 45 minutes. It really just depends on how much, I suppose, I'm in the swing of covering certain aspects, and I suppose how many questions we're going to get off the back of it. But cool, I'll share my screen. We're going to kick off with some slides, and then I'm also going to go into some practical elements in Futrli Advisor. So hopefully everyone can see this. And as I mentioned, it's all about how to approach your first 90 days with Futrli. So I think the first point to raise and the first good position to discuss, I suppose, is team engagement. Certainly, you are always a key player in the decisions that you're making. But one thing that when you're first getting off the starting line, I suppose, with starting with Futrli, is to ensure that you've got the team buy-in. It kind of makes sense, I suppose, but I do see occasions when maybe the partner or decision maker in the firm has seen the need to kind of use Futrli for a variety of reasons, whether it's to make a more efficient advisory offering or just even get into the world of advisory in inverted commas. But if that one person is the only person that's, I suppose, beating the drum or really running with it, it can make it a lot more difficult. So I really think that getting buy-in from your wider team, whether it be a small team that you work in, or if you're a larger firm, getting the department or a good number to kind of, I suppose, back you up in what you're trying to achieve. And certainly a key first step with that is to set up a meeting with that team. Because in that team meeting, we need to then establish a plan. Obviously, us at Futrli are going to support you, and as it says there, speaking to your account manager, we're going to be able to give you some really good ideas about how you can start to engage your clients and ultimately how to use the software and kind of roll out the strategy, I suppose, of the advisory services you can do with Futrli. But there needs to be obviously a good concrete plan at your side as well, because each firm is going to be different about how they interact with their clients. Each portfolio of clients is going to be different. So having a good plan as to how you're going to approach that is a really good starting point. Because I mentioned there on champions. It's one thing I see is a kind of a cloud champion, for example, at a firm. And I'm not saying we should necessarily go down the route of having a cloud champion. Sometimes that doesn't necessarily work. I see that a cloud champion in some firms can just simply be like an account manager for the various apps, which I'm not sure how much value that derives. But a recent example of a client I was speaking with has done some really good things with Futrli, is that they've established kind of a champion team. So they actually recently recruited a few because they've been doing some really good stuff, and they recruited 3 different kind of levels of advisory or Futrli champions. One was a kind of a data entrance level junior member of the team, so they were analysing maybe who to go after next, who to target, and also to build out some entrance level reports, just maybe replicating templates and things. So like a junior member of the champion team. Someone that's kind of in the middle, that's helping out a bit of the compliance to take off some of the burden of that compliance-led team, but also then helping that junior member team building out some more advanced areas of Futrli, so maybe get into the forecasts. And then I suppose a senior champion, you could say, that is then going to be engaging with clients, so really delivering the advisory services and speaking with clients on the front line. So I think having that setup worked really well for that firm, because they've then established a team of people to have a focus on rolling out Futrli and having that as the core objective. Because that's obviously what we're looking to achieve here, is ensuring that we're getting the most out of the tools that you have in front of you. And I think having the whole buy-in, having a good plan from the offset is really going to help with that. There's nothing too complicated, I suppose, in engaging with people, but if you're doing it alone or without a real thought as to how you're going to interact with those clients, then it can just be a bit more difficult. So yeah, team engagement, I think, is a really good first step. And as I mentioned on that last slide, speaking with your account manager is also a good kind of way to go as well. So hopefully we're as happy as this guy here. But yeah, certainly us at Futrli, you get dedicated account management support on the partner plan. So ensuring in that first stage, certainly in that first week, the salesperson should book in that first call, or you should have that discussion. But if something gets missed, maybe you missed that first call, then certainly get that set up, because that first introductory call with your account manager is not only going to establish the relationship with that individual, but you're also going to help build on the plan that you've established in your internal office. So we'll then be able to identify who the key users are. So your account manager will then be able to set up calls with certain people, whether it's send out the material that's required. So if you've got that junior member of the team, do they need some help articles on how to get first logged in? Or do they need some support material around how to replicate some templates and so forth? Also then establishing who's going to be on the calls moving forward. So obviously you get effectively unlimited support. Most people will maybe go for like a, maybe at the beginning, once every 2 weeks as a call, and then moving forward to monthly or kind of bi-monthly calls. So setting up who's going to be on those calls. Something I do with my portfolio is maybe have a like a strategic overview call with the partners in the firm once every couple of months, and then maybe once a month just have a drop-in session with the rest of the team on more of a, I suppose, a technical session. So you can really structure it however you want, but it's all about, again, building on the plan that you've had internally about how you think you want to start to use Futrli and how to engage in the advisory offering that you can now do efficiently with Futrli. Building on that with engaging your account manager and establishing the plan and how we can best support you. Because there is a variety of support material available. So certification should be one of the first things that the salesperson sets up for you. So that's the main theory, I suppose, about how to use Futrli, and it's a great way to become certified. So certainly speak with us if you haven't gone down that route as well, and it might be included in your package already, or you can discuss that with us. And obviously, other material that you might not be aware of or might have been discussed, because we've got so much support material available to try and adhere to everyone's learning method, I suppose. So the webinars that we're doing right now, for example, your account manager will then be able to give you the links for them. Maybe there's been pre-recorded ones that, for example, if you missed this one, this is a really good one if you join tomorrow, for example, to watch, because hopefully we can give you some good tips in the beginning stage. So, and then also the templates as well in your account. Your account manager has like a library, I suppose, of templates which can be dropped into your account at any given moment, really depending on, again, what you're looking to achieve. So we've got some templates we're going to touch on today, such as how you elevate like a profit and loss and balance sheet and so forth. And those templates can be used, like I said, when it's needed. So as I mentioned, speaking with your account manager, establishing that plan moving forward, and ensuring that you've got all of the support material that your that we have on offer that is relevant for you at your fingertips, I think is a really good step to build on that first internal meeting. And then when you first log in, we're going to need to obviously connect to an organization. So we're going to walk through rather how to do that in a sec. It's really straightforward. We do it underneath the organizations tab. Just hit add organization, and then you can then sync away. Obviously, that's probably the first thing you need to do. When you first log in, there should be some data in there already, some example data, which you can certainly start to play with. But you may as well connect your own organization, because that's what you're able to do with your clients. And I think that's a good way to then start to build on that. One thing that some partners do is also connect up their own firm, because you've got a really good take on your own numbers. You can then connect to your organization and start to build out reports. Simply just have a play. You can't break the system. So certainly I encourage you to just simply mirror maybe what you're currently doing, or just add some tables and charts and see what the kind of feel of it is. And if you do that with your own numbers or with a client you really understand, I think that'll be a bit more intuitive on the first step. Once you then connected your org, you can then start to invite users in. So generally you would use this at the first stage anyway, to invite in your colleagues. And there's a few different user types that you can go with. So the owner of the account is the person that set up the account. So generally the partner in the firm, or the decision maker that's kind of proceeded with this and has taken, I suppose, full control of the billing and all the settings that comes with the account. And being the owner, you can only have one owner in the account. And the owner sees everything effectively. So, well, any organization that's added. The next, I suppose, step down from the owner is an admin. So an admin is generally intended for a colleague. An admin can see all of the kind of the boards and the forecasts tabs that you can see, but you'll still be able to, if you build a report out, it'll be only on that workspace until you share it. So even if an admin, for example, builds out a report for a particular client, they'll need to share it with another user if that user wants to see it. But an admin can be used for that, maybe senior member of the team that's going to be building out forecasts, because a regular user, which is somewhat intended for a client, can't see the forecasting tab. So a regular user can still build out reports, can view boards and so forth, but they can't see the forecasting area. So generally, I suppose an owner would be the all-seeing eye, the person that's controlling everything and that is able to view the billing details and so forth. An admin would be a colleague that can then work on the account, and a regular would be somewhat restricted access that can view details. But you might have a really junior member of the team that isn't going to be forecasting, and therefore regular would be a key one there. And obviously when you're inviting in users, you can invite them into particular organizations. So you might have some members on the team that want to be working on everything, and always have their organization list updated if you add another organization. So you can then add them all. There's a little tick box, which we'll see in a sec, which you can use to like auto add organizations. So whenever you add one on, the user will then be updated with that organization. But you can also add them to be particular organizations. So say, for example, we did connect up the firm's accounts, but we didn't want all the employees to potentially see the accounts of your own firm. So you can then not add all, just simply add the clients that person is meant to see. So you can be quite precise as to who sees what, even down to the board level as well. When you build out reports, you can give them access to certain things. So have a look at who to invite in under what user profile. And again, that'll just be made up of, will follow on rather from your planning discussions. Because in those planning chats, you'll identify who's going to be controlling what, who's going to be able to do what, and then you can then use those user profiles to match that. And then I suppose we've got the decision of how to approach building out some work for a client. And we're probably doing all of this within the first 30-day period. And we've got to distinguish, is it going to be a new or current client that we're using Futrli for? So I suppose as in a general term, people that use Futrli are either using Futrli to get into the advisory space and start to build out some really cool stuff for their clients. They want to take their work to the next level. So if it's new clients, and therefore we're presenting them with very new and different work to what they got before, we can use the health check strategy, and that's all about positioning the work you can present to them in a really easy and dynamic way. We'll go through that in a sec. And we've also got the current client approach. So if they're already using, for example, Xero for some management accounts, maybe you're already sending them out. Maybe they're just a bit basic, and you therefore use Futrli to start to elevate them. Or maybe it's a current client that hasn't really got a forecast in place, and you're starting to now use Futrli to do that. We can use a template to start to elevate that work. So a couple of strategies there. What I'm going to do now is jump into Futrli, and we're going to walk through how you connect an organization, the user profiles, and then some strategies around if you're using your current clients to elevate work, or if you're going to be marketing to some new clients. So I will just log in. Cool. So whenever you log in, you come straight to the boards, and this is the last board that I was on. But we're going to come to the organizations here. This is where we can then connect up that client of yours. So we can click Add Organization. We can then sync with one of these here. So we've got the two main ones in, I suppose, the European and American market of Xero and QuickBooks. Simply connect, and it will then sync away automatically. You can also upload a manual organization. So if a client's not on those cloud offerings, you can upload the trial balance yourself. Sage, it says it's coming soon, but unfortunately it's not coming soon. That's going to be removed soon, so we can ignore that one. MYOB, probably not too relevant unless we've got any of our Australian friends on the call today. This is one for the Southern Hemisphere. So it's another cloud offering. And we've also got the create consolidated organization. So that's if you want to then create a group and you can then report on them. So you might have a few Xero orgs, and you can then create your consolidation to then sit on top of it, and you can then view it from the group level. So that's a really cool way of reporting as well. So first step really, when you first log in, is connect up your client. The client will then sync away, and it will then be done in a couple minutes, if that. We can then, as I mentioned before, add some users. So if we go to Users tab, we can then click Add User. This is where we can then connect up a colleague, or indeed a client as well down the line, so they can log in and see this work. And we can see here the differences between the regular and admin user. As I said, one of the main differences with the admin is that we can't see the forecasting tab at all if you're a regular user. It's quite straightforward to invite someone in. So let's say we're just going to add someone in, like myself. Add in the email address. We can choose which one. So you can go admin, for example, if you're adding in a colleague. Demo organizations will be added by default, but you can not add them if you don't want them to. We can then select either a particular client as that. You can add them all at once by clicking Add All. And if you wanted this user to be always updating their organization list whenever you add or remove someone, click Enable Auto Add. If not, we just simply add the ones that you want to individually. We can then click Continue. This is where you can then share any of the boards that are in the account. This will then share a copy of those boards. So if you've done any work for this client already, you can then share that. If not, you could just simply send the invite as it says there. You can customize this invite as well if you want to. And this will just be preloaded text, but you can always just simply overwrite and write whatever you want to in there. And you can then share the boards and the dashboards and the reports when this user's accepted their invite. So I won't invite myself in because I'm already in the account. I don't need to be in there twice. So that's inviting a user, really straightforward. And when you've then invited them in, you'll see a list of your clients, or of your users, sorry, here. And you'll then, it'll be different columns, regular and admin. And you can, as the owner of the account, amend them and change them if you want to. Cool, so that's users. And as I mentioned, we then go through 2 different strategies of if it's a new or if it's a current client. Let's go with the new client. With the new client, I did do a whole session on this actually on the health check strategy. So certainly let me know if you want me to send you the recording if you didn't come to that one. But I'll go through it a bit quicker than I did on the webinar. But effectively, what we need to do with this strategy, we're going to be building out a forecast for these new clients. This is for a client that isn't getting advisory services at the moment, but you've seen an opportunity with these clients. So what we need to do is ring fence a few of our most friendly clients, the ones that we think are going to take up a service, or we can see an opportunity with these. And we want to now position the work to a client. Because one thing we want to not do, I suppose, is just build them a report that we think is going to be relevant for them, and just be like, here you are, here's the report, that'll be X amount of pounds. That's probably not the best strategy to use, because each client is going to be different. We want to be presenting them something that is valuable, something that they've asked for, and something that I suppose resolves an issue and can really help them moving forward. So this strategy is all around a forecasting setup. So identify that client that's got an opportunity that you think is ready to go, and we're going to get them in for a meeting. And prior to that meeting, we're going to do a bit of prep. So we're going to build out a forecast for this client by clicking New. And all we're going to do is use last year's actuals as a basis. So we're going to use the quick create on the last year's actuals. We'll just call it health check. We can do a forecast anywhere up to 10 years. But with this one, we don't need to do a 10-year forecast. I don't think I've seen anyone do a 10-year forecast, to be fair, but we'll just do a 1-year forecast for now. And we'll leave the start date as September 20. And then click build. Cool. So let's build our forecast in a few seconds. And what we've done, just to explain the numbers, is taken last year's P&L and applied it to today's balance sheet. This P&L here is exactly the same as last year. So it's their years if they had no changes. So September 20, that's September 19's figure. Same with October 20, that's October 19's figure. And we've now just applied it to today's balance sheet. So we've got the 3-way forecast, we've got the profit and loss, the balance sheet, and the cash flow, all intertwined. So cash is important, but having the 3-way there really backs it up and makes it a lot more accurate, a lot more insightful, and like a full business approach. So that's pretty much all we need to do for the setup. We can obviously amend figures and things, but for this strategy, we don't need to do that. We're just simply going to use this forecast in a sec, presented in a nice dynamic fashion. And what we can do is then go to the boards to do this preparation. And I'm going to build something out from scratch. Alternatively, actually, I'm not going to do this from scratch. I'm going to use one of the templates. We've got a template called the discovery session here. Little set of instructions here and a how-to video kind of recapping on what I'm walking through here. And what I'm going to do is duplicate this dashboard. We always want to copy a template just so we don't affect the original. I'm then going to remove the instructions and the how-to video when it loads in a sec. By clicking on the 3 dots, then click remove. I'm just going to rename this. This is going to be called Health Check Strategy. It will then refresh round. I'm just going to hit refresh just so it all catches up. And we can then see a variety of questions that we can come to, because these are the sort of meeting structure that we want to adhere to in this health check strategy. We'll come to these in a sec again though, because what we're going to do is to continue with that meeting prep, because what we've done, we've built that forecast out in the forecast, and we now want to use this template and update it for the particular client that we're working with. So we're going to select Real Story Productions, that's the one we just built the forecast for. We're going to select that forecast we just built, the health check one, and we're going to click done. That's all we need to do. And what this is presenting that forecast, that last year's actuals forecast, as a forecast cash flow. So if they had no changes, this is what the year would look like. It'll make more sense as well after we've asked these questions, because we're not going to present that client with that chart yet. What we're going to do, we're going to get them into the office, or we're going to speak to them over Zoom if we're still doing kind of virtual meetings. And we're going to effectively speak to the client. We're not getting them into the office to present them, here's a report that I've just built out. As I mentioned, cost X, do you want to take it up? It's I suppose, a different strategy, because we're effectively checking on what the business is going through and how we can help. So we're going to ask a variety of questions, such as these ones that's kind of outlined here. Are you looking to expand? Is there anything worrying you? Have you won any contracts? What's the kind of future of your business looking like? Effectively, open-ended questions that we can really start to uncover what this business is looking to achieve. It's then going to pull into the objectives that we can see here, such as the client's going to give you some indications like they're looking to hire some new salespeople. They are, in fact, going to be moving office at the end of the year. And these next steps effectively are where we're getting to. So where we're going to be then building on a piece of work. Because this client is going to tell you in this meeting that they're looking to, as I mentioned, hire some new staff or move office. So it's at this point that we can then flip the laptop round or present them with the report that is this. So we have now presented the client a piece of work that we've done in advance of this meeting. So this meeting can also be at no charge. It can just simply be a great way to introduce them to the new services you can provide. And by presenting this piece of work, we've shown that we've done a bit of prep. We've looked into the client's real figures. We're presenting them with something that they can relate to. And effectively, we're showing the client this is a year as if they didn't have any changes. But you, Mr. or Mrs. Client, have now told me that you're going to be looking to hire some new staff members, or you're going to be looking to move office. So what we need to do, we can start to see trends. So, for example, at the end of the year, cash was lower than where it has been. But obviously, we can't just go off last year. We need an accurate forecast in place to be able to navigate through those months ahead. So what we can do is then work those assumptions into this forecast, and then we can book that follow-up meeting and really deliver something that's even more insightful than this. This is something a really good start. This is starting to use those past trends and see what their future would look like. But the client's now told us that their year is going to be different. So we need to now build a more tailor-made report, whether it be a PDF or an intuitive live dashboard such as this. We can now start to see, based off those assumptions, what the impact might be. If in that work that you do, if you presented like a best case, worst case, what happens if we do move office in December? What happens if we delay it to maybe March? What's the impact going to be? Those sort of things we can really pull out of. And I suppose we're presenting them with a piece of work that's a taste of what can be done. But the only way that client can really safely understand how their business is going to perform over those coming months is by working those assumptions into this forecast to make up an accurate picture. That's the health tech strategy. In a nutshell, like I said, I did do a webinar on that was a bit longer to go through the steps a bit slower. If you want that info, do let me know. But it's a strategy that I know works and has worked really well with the partners that I've engaged with in this, because it's all about listening to the client and presenting them with something that is kind of definitely what the client wants. I suppose it's tailor-made. It's you're making sure that client achieves their objectives by presenting them something that's really valuable. So that's the client that isn't on board yet, and we want to we've seen the opportunity and really start to use the skills and the tools you have at your fingertips now to present them with something. We might also have some clients that are maybe receiving the standard report, or you've been using Excel and you want to start to elevate that output. We can then, nice and simply, use again another template, because again, we're using this in our first 90-day period, so we want to be getting off the line as quickly as possible. So using the templates that we've got is a really good way to do that. So this P&L balance sheet one is a really good elevation of those standard reports that that client might be receiving. So again, we're going to duplicate it, so we can keep that original as the original master copy. Again, I'm going to remove the instructions because we're learning how to do it now. We don't need to have the instructions on the report for the client. We can then rename this. Let's just call this elevated P&L balance sheet. I'm sure you can come up with something a bit more exciting name than that. Again, I'm just going to refresh the report so it all catches up. And here, I'm going to bulk edit organizations. So this means change everything on the report to the client that we're working on now. I'm going to change it to Real Story Productions. It's going to change from the example data to that client now. And straight away, we've got an elevated P&L and balance sheet report. And just to walk through this report, this is looking at income for the last 3 months, split by group level. We've then got our costs split by account level, so we can really see where we can so it's just display the profit and loss in a lot more kind of visually appealing instant fashion for your clients. It is interactive, so when you're speaking to your client, if you're speaking with your kind of laptop open or screen sharing, you can really start to engage in those numbers. We can use presentation mode and really kind of scroll through. The next feature on the report is the P&L, but we've added a bit of a twist on it. We've got a comparison to prior year. We can open up the categories and start to jump into the numbers. And effectively, we're taking that original profit and loss the client might be getting, maybe the balance sheet as well. We're starting to really add the, I suppose, Futrli touch to it by having different periods on it, comparing to prior year, and then it should then allow for some really good conversations at the back of it. The next chart is a cash versus debtors report. This is where we can then see the relationship between the money in the bank and the money outstanding at debt. So looking at August 20, for example, the money in the bank was just under 500,000, 400,000, but we were owed what, $1 million or so in debt. So if they actually reclaimed all of that debt, different credit terms, different structures with their clients, we could then be a lot more kind of positive in the bank. So it's a really good report, but obviously these are just templates. If there's anything that you didn't want in this report, maybe a client doesn't have any debt, we can just flip the card around and just change whatever's on the report. But hopefully these templates give you a really good head start to elevate those reports. And the next one is then monthly debtor days. So it's looking at the debt over time and how that's changed. And again, really visual, really instant for that client and how it's then changed over time. And then finally, to back up this report, we've got the balance sheet. Same sort of structure as the P&L, where we've got the last few months compared with the previous year's months and a variance. As I was saying about amending it, you might not want the comparison. Maybe for a balance sheet, you just want the chronological one. You can just simply remove it entirely by clicking on the 3 dots, click remove, then add in a continuous balance sheet. So by clicking add card and then adding on the balance sheet here. So I think that's a really good first step, is using this template, the profit and loss and the balance sheet, because it's a really quick way to present the client with something that's of value. This client has already been receiving something that's similar, but this should hopefully be the next step up to really allow those conversations to be a lot more meaningful, I suppose, because this is what we're presenting to the client this information for, because they can now understand their business in a lot better way, and we can then start to see different trends and really take that client on that journey that you can kind of satisfy with them. So that's then how you do both the new and the current client approach. So then just to wrap it up, we have got the final slide on where I think a kind of a 30, 60, 90-day structure should sit. So after being with Futrli for 30 days, it'll be a really good target to achieve to complete certification. The certification doesn't take very long, it only takes a few hours to go through. And by getting that kind of completed, you'll then be certified. So you can put kind of a logo on your website, you can advertise the fact that you're Futrli certified, but you'll then have the base theory under your wings to be able to move forward with that. I think also if you can engage with at least one client. So we've got the templates in there. We want to be speaking with our clients, using Futrli to make those conversations better. We want to be saving that time as quickly as possible. We want to be doing that from the offset. We don't want to be necessarily waiting until we've learned everything, because that's not really, I suppose, what we need to do. Futrli can do so much stuff. We can forecast and consolidated groups, or we can use the alerts function, or we can use the dashboards and the printer reports. But the key thing with getting a quick return on investment is to engage with clients from the offset. because we don't need to learn everything. We can learn as we go. So like I was mentioning about elevating that report, using the profit and loss and balance sheet one, that could be a really good first step. If the client then off the back of that wants you to add a different KPI, or your conversation takes you down the route of maybe they need a forecast because you've spotted a trend, we can then go away and learn that, whether it's through certification, through a session with your account manager. But at least we then started engaging with the client by kind of month 1. Month 2, I think we should now be in the swing of some regular reporting and forecasting for multiple clients. Because we can now set up templates using the dashboards or the printed reports, it's a really good way to have maybe a basic and advanced set of management accounts. We can then flip that forward from client to client and month to month. So having some regular reporting and forecasting coming out, I think should be a good aim at day 60. And then finally, day 90, maybe using the health tech strategy, we can start to efficiently segment some clients and target different clients because we might have been elevating the work, but we can now start to roll out to further clients. And that can then all be used and tied up with some efficient data processing. So using apps like Receipt Bank and Xavier, however you pronounce it, we can really pump some extra good data into Futrli. Because Futrli obviously sits on the top. Futrli is the output. The better data we get in, the more refined that kind of processing is, the better the work you can do. So I think at month 3, not only are we engaging with clients really effectively, we're now really starting to refine the whole process that leads up to it. So I think that's a really good approach to our day 30, 60, and 90. Cool. So that's pretty much all I've got to go through today. I saw some questions come in, so certainly now is your time to drop in any Q&As that you might have. I'll be the one giving the A's, you can give the Q's. So one question is, how do you get to the health check template? So it's a dashboard in your account called the discovery session. If it isn't in, which I imagine it isn't for yourself, Doreen, I'll drop it in your account. I'm happy to do that. So I will certainly do that. And certainly any other dashboards that we're going through, if you saw anything that wasn't in your account, as I mentioned, your account manager would have everything at their fingertips to put into your account when it's relevant. If you're going through that sort of strategy, if you need health check, or if you need a business review or a forecast template, we can build things for you and drop things into your account when relevant. So I'll do that for you, and certainly anyone else, then obviously just let us know, or use the support team as well. So you can message the support team via the in-app chat window at the bottom right of your account. You've got that little pink circle, or you can message them at support@futrli.com, and they'll be happy to help you out with anything you might be missing in your account. Cool. One other question that's come in is, do I need to learn certification first? So no, not really. So although I kind of advise that if you can, in day 30, have achieved completing certification, then great. But we don't need to wait until that point to start using Futrli, because those steps that I outlined are fairly straightforward to log in and connect to client, and even use the templates to engage with clients. I think having certification open and going through fairly regularly is really important. We don't need to, like I said, be a pro at Futrli to start using it. The quicker you can get through it, the better. But by all means, it's not something that you need to, I suppose, read the book before you get into it. We can certainly just start, if I'm sticking with the rubbish analogies, drive the car before you're taking the lesson. Certainly it's better when you've properly learnt those different strategies, but if we're starting small, you can learn as you go. And I think certification is a really good tool, but it's not the be all and end all. We can just jump in there. Like I mentioned at the beginning, you can't break anything. It is intuitive. It is straightforward to use. We just need to start getting those efficiencies as quickly as possible and start engaging with clients to get the return, because that's the reason why I suppose you're using it Futrli, is to really improve the output that you can do. And obviously we're here to help with that. Cool, so that's the only couple of questions that have come through. So if there are any others, then do drop them in. Normally a couple come through when I wrap up. But if that's everything, I will, like I said, send out the recording. I will send out any material that I think is useful to coincide with today's chat. We've got some more sessions coming up. There isn't one next week, but next week there's a really good session that Hannah and Helen are doing. That's all around Predict, which is a really exciting one. You might have been emailed about that recently. And then we've got another one myself in a couple of weeks' time. So I'll certainly be in touch with all of that. By all means, let me know if you've got any queries. Support team, myself, account management team. I'm certainly here to help. Thanks a lot. Have a good rest of your day. Cheers then.